The purpose of a federal grand jury is to consider criminal charges against a target or range of targets. This is the first indication that a grand jury has been impaneled in the district to investigate the attempted assassination. So Jack Posobiec was talking about this earlier. It may actually be something really simple, but it could be something even much more complicated, perhaps a cover-up. Perhaps Crooks was supposed to be the fall guy, but he is no longer living. Criminally charge someone who no longer exists. So maybe they need a patsy, not even a patsy, but a scapegoat to say this is the person responsible for what happened, and then pass off the responsibility from themselves.
And the special agent from the FBI's Pittsburgh field office did have a meeting with the press today where he said, based on our investigation so far, we have not been able to determine a motive, although it wasn't, clearly political. He definitely, Crooks acted alone. Here's a picture of the IED we found in his car. Here's a picture of the gun. So they are sort of trying to posture as if they are making progress in this investigation. My mind tends to be that the simplest explanation, they're going after his dad. We saw this with Ethan Crumbley, the high school shooter.
Absolutely.
And his parents were both found guilty and incarcerated in relation to their inability to keep a gun out of, what they, the government has said it was a clearly troubled student's hand. And
now, the difference in that case is that Ethan Crumbley's parents never called the cops at any moment in time.
Right.
Now, Crooks's parents at one point in time were notified police. They were concerned. Crooks was missing. The rally was happening. It's a material fact that they notified police.
Right.
So that almost gives credence to the fact that they knew something, and maybe they didn't divulge enough information.
And Crumbley was a minor in the care of his parents, right? Crooks was 20 years old. He may have lived at home, but he is an adult. That's very different.
I want to put something also important on this radar is that, during Black Lives Matter, there was not a prosecution after a grand jury convened for Michael Brown's death. For the first time ever, we saw the Washington Post and the New York Times crawl into statistics on federal grand juries, how often when they convene do they lead to indictments. And they said 99.9% of cases when they convene, an indictment happens. So that's certainly bad news.
Or conviction.
A conviction happens.
The conviction rate is near 100%.
So this is bad news for whoever maybe have done something. The fact that a grand jury certainly exists, and they did not want this news to come out. This is just an accidental faux pas as a result of this community college.
Yep. Noob in the room. Grand jury means that there's no judge. Is that what that means? Why is a jury grand? What's the difference of a grand jury and a jury?
It's just the name. A grand jury is convened to determine if there's a preponderance of evidence so that an indictment can be issued. So this is actually really awesome. It's really awesome. The state can't just be like, we're going to arrest Ian on these very serious life-altering charges. They have to actually impanel jurors and say, we think this guy should be criminally charged, and here's the evidence why. Now, it's not adversarial. Sometimes in the grand jury proceedings, you can testify, but usually you don't. You just get arrested and indicted. But at least there's that first level. The indictment is not a statement of guilt. It's, we think this guy may have committed this crime, so there should be a trial over this. If the jury agrees, and it's very easy to get an indictment, then you move to the next stages, which may be arrest, or it really depends on the crime.
So instead of getting an arrest warrant, they have to go through a grand jury to get the warrant, basically?
I'm not a lawyer,
okay.
So a lawyer would probably explain way better because I don't actually know why.
That is correct. You cannot, without a grand jury indictment, unless there's enough preponderance of evidence to initially arrest, but once you're actually charged, usually there's an indictment.
Right.
That comes with that, yeah.
Well, so in some instances, they just go and arrest you.
Right. If they catch you with coke or something, you're just getting arrested for possession. Then you have to see the judge. You've already been arraigned. You've already been indicted. There's evidence.
Oh, so they got to get the warrant from the grand jury. I'm sorry to ask
They get a warrant
stupid
from a judge, the indictment from the grand jury.